Gianna, thanks. A former MGM Springfield employee speaking out tonight after saying she faced racial discrimination, retaliation, and harassment while employed by the casino. Western Mass News reporter Lexi Oliver joining us live in studio with more. Lexi.
Chris, Chelan Brown, along with her legal team, filed a civil lawsuit last month seeking compensation from damages for what she calls racial discrimination, retaliation by management, and breach of contract. Chelan Brown, a former MGM Springfield diversity manager, stood with family and friends in downtown Springfield Wednesday as she and her legal team spoke publicly for the first time since filing a lawsuit against the casino resort and its former president, Michael Mathis. She says she experienced retaliation and discrimination during her time with the casino.
I joined to ensure that those traditionally locked out of jobs, locked out of contracting opportunities, and locked out of professional growth would have someone inside, a familiar face that had no hidden agenda other than to aid and assisting inclusion and equity efforts for diverse communities.
Brown says she joined MGM in 2014 as part of the campaign to bring the casino to Massachusetts and the campaign to help the casino win its Springfield license. She says she served as regional director of campaign activities.
During my time running the campaign, I was often required to work late nights and weekends with Mr. Mathis and other MGM execs. And as a woman, I was often put in many uncomfortable situations in which heavy alcohol consumption was involved by the execs.
In 2015, Brown says she became an administrative assistant of Mathis, later signing a 3-year contract for the role of construction diversity manager in August of 2016. Brown says she then worked 6 months without a formal contract or job offer as procurement manager for supplier diversity.
During these phases of my work, I maintained an impeccable work performance record and continued to be heralded by company executives and city and state regulators around the creation of the diversity plan.
She says she was told she'd receive a written agreement as well as a salary increase for this new role, but she alleges Mathis pressured her to submit fake diversity hiring practice reports to the Massachusetts Gaming Commission.
During this time, it had become clear to me that reports being provided to the Mass Gaming Commission regarding diversity goals and certain vendor contracts were not being reported accurately to the Mass Gaming Commission, thereby circumventing diversity spend requirements.
She voiced these concerns to executives and was later told she wasn't a good fit for the operation procurement role and would be sent back to close out the construction team.
This was my first experience with retaliation as outlined in my lawsuit. I was confused, I was hurt.
She said she was assured she'd be given a leadership role upon the casino's opening, but was placed in the banquet department as a conference service manager.
In hindsight, I feel that they purposely put me in a role I had no experience in, knew that I would struggle due to my family and inexperience, to set me up to fail.
Brown goes on to accuse her former supervisor of harassing and discriminating against her.
Mrs. Salamoni would make statements to me during her constant berating that included, I would never have hired you people for this role. And I would never have hired a mother of 4 children for this role.
She says she filed an HR complaint but alleges her claims were never investigated. And in November of 2019, Brown was terminated with what she says was no advance notice from her department head. This lawsuit, now filed in Hampden County Superior Court, follows a discrimination complaint that the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination dismissed after they said they found insufficient evidence to support Brown's claims. We reached out to MGM for comments on these claims. MGM Resorts International spokesperson Dara Cohen tells us in part, quote, "We conducted a full and thorough investigation into this matter and found there was no discrimination or retaliation against anyone. The Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination also reviewed the matter and found no probable cause." MGM Resorts International spokesperson Dara Cohen adds that MGM has not yet been served with a lawsuit, but is prepared to defend themselves vigorously if necessary. We've also reached out to Michael Mathis to see if he has any comment, but we have not yet heard back. Reporting live in studio, Lexi Oliver, Western Mass News.
Lexi,